There it is.
There it is.
Episode 24?
Is that possible?
I don't even know. I didn't even look before this, so I hope it's 24. If needed, we can put an edit.
Yeah, right.
Right here.
You know the editor.
Yeah, I do. He's a good guy. Really,
Yeah.
Honest guy.
Right.
So 24, I'm Adam.
Yeah, and I'm Steve, and
Welcome to the Whiteboard Sessions.
yes. And seriously, some of you have been watching like every single one of these, and we're getting the feedback and couldn't appreciate that. Should we do a selfless plug or shameless promotion?
Plug.
Because we haven't. So some of you, if you can like share this and this and subscribe, especially on the YouTube stuff.
It helps the algorithms, right? It helps us get our word out there. So we appreciate it. The more you can post, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, it really helps us. So thank you.
Yeah, and then you'll get the notifications on time.
Yep.
So welcome back to whatever 24.
24, hopefully.
We got a good group. You're doing well.
Yeah, good. Yeah, waiting for spring to actually arrive in Minnesota.
Right. Yeah, it's tax day here in Minnesota,
That's
and
right.
I think it might get to 40 degrees this afternoon.
Maybe.
Yeah, no flowers, no buds on the trees yet. The grass is still putrid brown, and
we're coming though.
Yeah, right. But business has been really, really good.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of stuff, and so one of the things that we did last week with a client, actually it was a call this week that we had where we were talking numbers.
Yep.
There was one of these big audacious goals that a customer's got to generate some revenue or customers, things like that. And in this conversation, there was the big number, there was the enormous number. And as we started, asking some more specific questions about breaking that down, it sponsored this idea on talking about breaking down big goals, being more specific, and looking at some metrics. Am I saying that right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, breaking it down to more manageable bites, because I think oftentimes when teams, especially when a leadership team, says here's our goal, team.
Yes.
Sometimes it can be a little daunting, right?
Yes.
So you break it down to those manageable, consumable chunks, and you dial it into what do I need to be on track for this week or this month or this quarter even. It helps, at least for I'm, as you all know probably, I'm very type A, very organized, very to-do list oriented, and so those kind of goals, I love it. Music to my ears. So yeah.
So the the conversation that we were having with the client this week talked about this huge goal, and we started asking, what was the goal, or where did they end last year? Mm-hmm. And so we got this differential between where they ended last year and how they wanted to complete this year. And one of the questions we asked the sales executive specifically, who is not usually colorful in language, actually said it's a flippin' big, and literally said flippin', not the other word, but flippin' big goal, which was curious. And so we started to ask, if you take that big differential as far as where they ended last year and where they want to be this year, and break it down, divided by the people that are responsible for that objective internally, and then they've got some external sales channel, the goal is a lot more manageable for them.
Yeah, I think if you're a business out there and you're watching, do you have those goals set? And I imagine a lot of you have goals, but do you track them? Do you benchmark them over last year? Do you have month over month, year over year goals? Are you tracking them along the way instead of just close to the end, like, hey, did we hit our goal? And then at that, are you taking into account those external sources? Are you taking into account your internal sources and grouping them by individual or team or whatever it is, and really dialing in those analytics and insights?
Yes. Using the tools is absolutely essential. Salesforce in this case is available to this client, but there's some things on our phones and our laptops that we can use, but breaking things down and being very clear and honest about those metrics is especially important. We mentioned a minute ago that it's April 15th. Well, we're 15 days into second quarter. And, as Joey Tribbiani used to say on Friends, how you doing?
Yes.
No, we're not asking the way he was asking, but how are you doing?
Yep.
Do you know where you stand? I mean, we're 25, a little more than 25% of the way done with the year. Are you 25% of the way where you need to be?
Yeah. And if not, let's revisit those goals. Let's revisit those numbers. Let's see, where we're falling short. If we need to pull from another function, do we need to pivot? Do we need to alter the, path that we're on to reach those goals? I mean, that's huge. Those little check-ins along the way, those weekly or monthly, updates and tracking all that stuff. I mean, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah. We have been doing this, and in some of our travels, we get a little road time together once in a while, and we talk about this a lot in the car on how we're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's very important. In fact, I'm going to...
Yep.
When we did the year beginning, we talked about the things for 21 and 22 that we needed to do. And the 22 things that we were advising back in January, number one was relationships, strengthening, building, and solidifying those. Communication, which is what we're really focusing on today with this podcast. Having vision, not goals, which is where you want to be. And then when we shot the podcast, we said, wake the F up, have some personal accountability,
Exactly.
be that way. And so that's primarily what this podcast is today, is breaking things down. Now, one of the things that I've talked about with clients for a lot of years is, with leaders, you got to make time. You got to have time for those one-on-ones, be personally accountable for that, because too many times people are in the business as a leader when they need to be more focused on the business. And so measuring the time, measuring the conversations that you're having with people as it relates to, are you having conversations with them about the relationship you have with them, or is it about their activity? Those are two different things. They're both really important, but strengthening that relationship on an ongoing basis can be, in some cases, more important than their activity, because you'll be able to get more out of their activity if you've got a strong relationship. You want to say?
It's just like that short we did too when we talk about structuring. If you really care, if you build that structure around it, it's not about the micromanaging. We all hate micromanaging. It's not about keeping constant tabs on things with this negative, leading by fear and intimidation type style, but to be in close contact, to build those relationships, to build that structure where you both are really striving for that goal together, and it just becomes natural after a while. It's like, ooh, yeah, like we have this goal and we're all going for the same goal. So hey, like Steve, how are you doing today? Hey, can we chat about this thing? Maybe I didn't hit my goal last week, but we're on track to double it this week or whatever. If there's no conversation, there's no structure. How do you reach your goals?
Let me ask you this, because it just hit me as you were saying nobody likes to be micromanaged.
Hit me with it.
Do you think, Adam McGuire, that you micromanage yourself?
Ooh, that's the conversation in my head.
Well,
that's a good.
I mean, you're pretty detail oriented, dude. And,
I am.
And you're really focused on activity. Yeah. You're very driven. Do you think that you micromanage yourself?
I probably do to some extent. I was just talking to my wife the other day about how I really work hard on, because I'm so type A and, to-do list oriented, is to not be so rigid.
Yes.
And sometimes days get away from me. And when I get too busy or try to accomplish too much and I'm, maybe too hard on myself for doing, whatever, it just kind of snowballs into, well, then I got to do more. And I'm already off the deep end. So I got to do this too and this too. And I'm going to accomplish this. And by the end of the day, you're toast. And so again, having that structure built and listening to the conversation in your head a little more, I think is at least is important for me. What about you? I mean, do you micromanage yourself?
I think there are times where I wasn't anticipating you responding that way, but I think when it comes to micromanaging the way you're describing it, that conversation in my head, I do to a fault. I think that is, but one of the things where I think, especially in the last, few months here, I need to micromanage better is this time log. Our phones do, at least the Apple products, will give you screen time. Yep. And it's always amazing to me where, I'll get that notification once a week and it'll say your screen time was up or your screen time was down. And rarely is my screen time up or down by a little. Mm-hmm. The swings are massive. Yeah. In some cases, like a low number for me is a swing of, your screen time was down 30%. And I think, wow, how could that be? Yeah. And then I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I was maybe doing a, full day with clients or something like that. And so I do want to get that in right now because I've mentioned time logs to a number of clients over the years. And I don't know whether this is a statement about me or them. They've never done it.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done. And if you don't know what a time log is, it's taking a spreadsheet or something on your phone and tracking your time at least by every 15 minutes. Writing, so at the end of 15 minutes, you can set an alarm on your phone. What did I do for the last 15 minutes? You will be appalled at the results if you ever do this. And I would say to get a relevant, meaningful time log assessment, you need to do 2 weeks. You need to do at least 2 weeks of that. And after the first couple of days, it's kind of a pain in the butt to track it. But after a couple of days, you get into the groove. You will be blown away in ways that you've never been blown away about, how much time you spend on the road and sleeping and, the mindless,
Social
scrolling.
media, screen time.
Exactly. If you're honest with yourself, what you do on that phone or what you're doing in front of whatever screens, computer screens, TV screens, the conversations that you have if you're in an office or things like that. So again, breaking things down, whether it's sales goal, whether it's time, if you're a leader, the time that you have in meetings, but the ultimate thing to break down is your time.
Yep.
How are you spending your time?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point because an operational aspect of that is not only like knowing those things, but then using that to your advantage. If you're not hitting your goals or you find that something else is amiss, right?
Yeah.
Then you can look back at that and say, "Oh my gosh, I had like 2 hours where I did like absolutely nothing."
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, we can dial it now. That's not saying we're saying every minute of every day you have to be on and effective and productive and all that, right? Have to have breaks for yourself. You have to have, completing that stress cycle. There's a lot of stuff you need to do on a regular basis to stay healthy and engaged and, all these kind of things. But to at least get yourself aware, to have insight on that time. It's just like when we pour over data, as we talked about in the beginning with the sales stuff. You have to have insight on that.
Yeah.
Data is great. Numbers are great. You have to have insight on it to be able to, further it out. So I think that's a great point.
You got it.
Awesome.
So April 15th, hopefully everybody's got their taxes done or they've got it extended. And you can take a moment right now and break down what happened first quarter and be more focused on second quarter.
Yep, exactly. Great way to put it.
Yeah, you bet.
Episode 24.
24 in the books. Thanks.